Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera passions. I'm your regular host, Latara, back today with one of our favorites, one of the greatest hits, Uche.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome back, Uche. Thank you for being here today. I'm very excited to have you back on the show. And what is this, season 5 of the podcast?
I
Is that
think
right? Season 4
so.
or 5? Because we started in 2020, so I think season 4.
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many episodes of this podcast. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
So
Somebody
many.
sent me a message the other day that was like, yeah, I just found your pod. Like, people are just constantly still finding it. And she's like, yeah,
Really?
I just found your podcast and I'm on episode, like, not of the podcast, but like episode
Yeah.
70 of like the
Mhm.
show, right?
Yeah.
She's like, I think you're talking about episode 70. I went back to listen to that episode and because I was like, where is she? And I was cracking up. I was like, God, we've come a mighty long way.
We've come a long way, that's for sure. Back in the days of the pandemic to now is a whole new ball game.
Yeah, we've come a mighty long way. So, with that said, y'all, before we get into the episode, we're gonna give a shout out to all of the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to, and I started that a little prematurely because I do not have the list pulled up. All right. Thank you to Munashe, Brelyn, Lisa, Sid, Sarana, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Samantha, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, Greg Lopez Fitzgerald, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Paige, Casey, Garanch, Tom Bergeron, Pablo, Daisy, Shane, and Kelly. Thank you all so much for being patrons and hanging in there with me. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing all of y'all sometime, either this month or next month, at one of the watch parties,
Mm-hmm.
which I put the date up. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's the 23rd and the 30th. I think of the two
Yeah, I
dates.
added them to my calendar.
Yay!
I was
So
like, I'm
it'll
gonna
be
try.
yes, please try. It'll be a lot of fun. I always enjoy the watch
Always
parties.
a
It's one
good
of my
time.
favorite things about doing this podcast is like being in community with other people and just talking shit about
Mhm.
about the show together. So with that, if you haven't become a patron, go on over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And with that, on with the show. We are starting with what did I say? Magic today.
Magic,
Where's my
magic,
magic
magic.
story? We're starting with magic. And magic was a lot of fun this week.
It was great.
Like I usually am not the biggest fan of some of the magic stuff just
Mhm.
because it often isn't moving the story along in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's like so goofy. Like some of it is fun to like break up the tension and break up all of the, some of the heavier things. But
Right.
but sometimes I'm just like, okay, y'all, let's move it along. I didn't feel like that this week. I was like wanting to get back to Tabitha and what was going on with Tabitha and Timmy this week. So let's talk about it. So
Sure.
first of all, the zombie remembers. For those of you who may not recall, last week the zombie basically said that she was going to kill everybody who knows that she's the zombie, right? So
Mhm.
Kay, Tabitha, and Timmy, and also Miguel, who doesn't know she's a zombie, but she just wants to have sex with him, and having sex with him, an unfortunate byproduct, an unfortunate consequence of him having sex with her would be his demise, his death.
Yeah.
So she's got like 4 people on her hit list right now. And Tabitha, meanwhile, is very, very worried about Timmy specifically. She
Mhm.
doesn't know at this point that the zombie is basically planning to kill both of them. She's worried about Timmy because she knows that if zombie catches Timmy continuing to try and defeat her, get rid of her,
Mhm.
and bring back the real Charity, that she's going to kill him. And remember, Tabitha had seen multiple visions of Timmy deceased on that
Right.
floating magic
scroll.
scroll.
Mhm.
So she's worried about that. That's the setup, okay? Meanwhile, Kay also is like, I got to get rid of this fucking zombie. Like, I got to do something about this. And so she goes over to Tabitha's house. Timmy opens the door and she's like, hey, Timmy. She's trying to, obviously Timmy knows everything that's going on. Kay doesn't know that, right? And so
Mhm.
she tries to kind of like play Timmy, but Timmy really kind of plays her in turn because Tabitha has hidden the book of spells from Timmy and has Fluffy guarding the book, basically, right? So Timmy knows where the book is. He just can't get to it because Fluffy will attack him, and he's scared of Fluffy. So he basically uses Kay to go get the book. Because Kay shows up looking for the book. She's like, hey, I was looking for this book I saw over here one time I'm just doing a book report on a book of spells. What kind of book report?
What kind of book report? What class is this for in school? Like, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. She tells him, there was a book. It was old. It was dusty. He's like, I know exactly what book you're talking about, but you're going to have to get it yourself. And he leads her up to like the attic to get the book. She does have like a run in with Fluffy, but eventually she's bigger than Fluffy. So she gets the book. But Fluffy does fuck her up a little bit. Her hair's a little messed up. She's a little scratched up. So Kay gets the book. And Timmy spends some time trying to get the book away from her because he only used her to get the book for him, right?
Right, exactly.
So he cuddles up next to her, trying to look at the book. She's like, hey, let me look at it first, then I'll let you look at it. And in order to get the book away from Kay, he sneezes on it and on her, and she's like disgusted. She like throws it. It's like, ugh. He's like, oh, let me go clean this off for you. So then he takes it off somewhere and starts going through it to try and find the spell. He does find the spell. I'm gonna skip a little bit. He does find the spell. He rips the spell out of the book. He takes just the page he needs out of the book. Smart Timmy, honestly.
Very smart. Very smart.
So meanwhile, Tabitha is trying to figure out, okay, what are we gonna do? I don't want Timmy to die. We need to get out of town, basically, right? So she calls her publisher of her New York Times best-selling book.
This plug.
Yep. She's like, yes, so it is me, Tabitha Lennox, the author of the New York Times best-selling book, Hidden Passions. And I'm gonna need an advance on I don't know, her pay. The next installment. And because she's planning to take a trip, she tells her publisher, I'm planning to take a trip. I need that check. Overnight it to me so we can leave tomorrow, basically. Meanwhile, Zombie shows up and realizes that Tabitha's like trying to get the hell out of Dodge, but she's not going to let her do that, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
And she kind of taunts Tabitha for a little bit. Tabitha's like, why would you want to kill Timmy? He's just an innocent boy. Like, please just leave him alone. But then Zombie, and I think Tabitha tells her, I hid the book and Timmy can't get to it.
Right.
That's what it was. Because at one point, Tabitha locks Timmy in the attic. And I think it's around this time that happened. She locks him in the attic. She takes the book, locks him in the attic. And that's when we realize that he has that one page. He's like, what Tabby doesn't know won't hurt her. She doesn't know that I have this one page out of the book. And so he starts looking around the attic for the ingredients on this spell to do this spell. And he tries to escape, or he tries to leave, but he can't. She's locked him in, and he escapes via the roof. So just know that he goes out of the window, gets out, falls, and gets to hitchhiking. Okay,
with his little stick and
so cute. Meanwhile, Kay is still just like hanging out at this house, waiting on Timmy to bring her the book back, right? And so Zombie senses that somebody is doing something with the book, basically. She senses that something is wrong. And so she starts looking for Timmy, can't find Timmy, but she does find Kay, and she just immediately starts breathing fire at Kay.
Kay's running away.
Yeah. It's crazy because first she breathes fire at her, and then she breathes like air or like
It was like green
eyesore. I don't know.
weirdness. Yeah.
She's breathing the elements at
Mhm.
at K. She's a you ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's like fire bending, air bending, but
Yeah.
from her mouth.
But from her
Mouth
mouth,
bending.
that mouth
She's
is
mouth bending.
powerful.
Let's see what that mouth do. She's mouth bending. Oh, I'm gonna keep calling it that. She's mouth bending at K. At K. Okay. So she's like chasing Kay around this house for whatever fucking reason. And let me be clear, y'all. I watched this at 2 times speed.
Yep.
So I might not have this 100% accurate.
Listen, I was right there with you. 1.5 speed, just trying to fly through it because
Like some of the magic stuff and pretty much all of the Sheridan and Luis stuff, I really kind of zoomed through this week. But there was a point in the magic where I did like slow it down because I was like, oh, this actually got interesting, right?
Yes.
Okay, so zombies mouth bending at Kay, trying to find the book. Kay's running, trying to dodge from all the mouth bending. Eventually, the zombie tricks Kay into going down into the basement, where we all know the boys in the basement are the demons. Right, but Kay doesn't know that. She tricks Kay into going down there by opening the door and yelling to Timmy, because remember, Kay wants the book from Timmy as well. She also doesn't know where Timmy is and has been kind of looking for him or waiting for him to come back. And so the zombie makes it seem like Timmy must be downstairs, but she's too uninterested to go down and get him, right? And so the zombie leaves the door open and anticipates that Kay will go down into the basement on her own, of her own volition, and die. Like that's the plan. She wanted Kay to go down there and die. So Kay goes down into the basement. There's some back and forth between Tabitha and the zombie for a little while before the zombie lets slip that she sent Kay down into the basement. And so Tabitha is actually worried about Kay, wants to go down and well, not go down and help her, but she opens the door and yells out to her like, "Hey, honey, darling, are you okay? Like, come back upstairs." Kay comes back upstairs. Her hair is all messed up. She's clearly visibly shaken. But am I meant to believe that she still believes that what attacked her in the basement was like plants?
Yeah. So she says, like, I just could feel something like reaching out to me and like, Tabitha, I don't know what your plants are doing. And I'm like, girl, are you kidding me? You really felt like that was a plant attacking you?
What is this, Little Shop of Horrors?
I don't know. I don't know.
Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, she comes back up and just thinks that Tabitha's plants attacked her. I don't whatever, it doesn't matter. And so Kay leaves. That was like the final straw for her. She's like, I need to get the hell out of here. So I also meant to mention, and I forgot, that Timmy, before Timmy left, he also saw himself on that floating scroll. He saw his deceased body, which Tabitha had been trying to hide from him. He hadn't. It was his first time seeing it, hearing anything about it. So he starts to take seriously the threat that Tabitha had been trying to tell him, and that is also why he leaves and escapes the house. Right.
He's not trying to die.
So let's see. Where are we? Takes the book. Timmy escapes. Tabitha hides the book. Zombie tells Timmy. Oh, so Zombie's still looking around for Timmy. Tabitha tells Timmy, which Tabitha also doesn't know that Timmy has escaped. She thinks that he's still locked away.
Up in the
So she tells the zombie that he went out. That he's gone out for the night. He's going to do.
He's a young teenager. He can go out and do whatever he wants.
Yeah. So they go back and forth for a while. What's important is Timmy has started hitchhiking. He's got his little bag, his hobo bag with the stick and the bandana, and he's hitchhiking down the road, and a lady pulls over and picks him up. she's a psychiatrist, I think she said she was.
Yep.
Her name was Tanya the
Tanya the
psychiatrist,
psychiatrist.
which, okay, I don't know. As a psychiatrist, it seems odd to be picking up
Somebody off the
strangers
side of
off
the
the street.
road.
But Timmy is very non-threatening, right?
Right, exactly. She even says it. She was like, she said it. She was like, yeah, I'm not really worried about you.
If I saw him hitchhiking down the road,
Yeah.
I would not pick him up, but I would think about it. I would consider it. I don't believe in picking up hitchhikers at all.
No, I'm not trying to die.
Not at all. And I don't care how big, how small they are. Look, you could have anything. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know you. So, but Tanya, she does not feel the same way. She picks him up and Timmy starts telling her basically recaps all of the magic storyline to Tanya, which then prompts her to put him out of her car. Fair enough. Puts him out on the side of the road and they do like the tire
wheeling.
Let me see. Do I have like I have a like kind of like that? Like,
yeah.
She's like, get out. Basically, well, she doesn't tell him that. She just puts him out and drives off. And he goes, was it something Timmy said? And it was so cute and so funny because he really just recapped the whole thing. He was like, yeah, I'm a doll brought to life. I made a magic wish at Christmas and became a real boy. And Tabitha is a 300-year-old witch that I live with. And there's a zombie and there's he talked about Kay and Miguel and Charity trapped in the block of ice, the whole thing. and so Tanya, the psychologist says, Dr. Tanya says, oh, get out. You got to get out. He goes, is it something Timmy said?
It was really cute.
It was cute. So this is when Tabitha and the zombie both realize that Timmy is gone. Okay. And so zombie then asks Tabitha for the book of spells, which Tabitha says, I hid it. There's no way he doesn't have it. I hid it. So the zombie for a moment is like, well, you know what? That gets rid of my problem. If he's gone and he doesn't have the book of spells, what can he do to me? Well, she gets the book of spells. She starts going through it, looking for some spell. I can't remember. Do you remember what she was going through the spell book?
I don't remember what specifically it was for, but it was like at this point, like I was like, I don't remember her spending this much time with the book, but the fact that she realized how fast she realized that there was a page missing, I was like, girl, you have like a photographic memory? Because if not, I mean, if you did, then you probably wouldn't need the spell book. But like, how did you realize so quickly that this specific spell is missing?
Yeah, because she was like, oh my God, the spell that would free charity is missing. Yeah, so she figures that out immediately. And
insane.
And then this next part is probably my favorite, like this little chunk of things that happen. It's probably my favorite things that happened this week. Like magic was my favorite this week.
It was fun. It was a great time.
So zombie realizes that spell is gone and she starts an incantation. She starts to like do like a spell and she goes, this is the spell. Ravens of the blackest night, vultures of the evil flame, I summon the great one whose only gift is pain. Rise up from the land of dark and search throughout this land of sins. Find the one with Tabitha's mark and crush the irritating imp. So we had a little bit of, it was a little off at the end there, but then she goes, Mordred. I was like, okay, Mordred, where's Mordred? Work. Where is party? And so Tabitha like exclaims, not the Bird of Mordred from the dark side. Dun dun dun.
It was wild.
It was so good. Not the Bird of Mordred from the dark side.
Yeah, and like you can see in her face, she is like scared. Like she's like not, she's like, oh, this is bad news. This is bad.
And she says, that's the most dangerous bird of them all. I don't know if y'all know this about me, if this is something I've mentioned on the podcast or not. I probably did, especially when they did the murder of crows and the unkindness
Mhm.
of ravens. I
Yeah.
am terrified of birds.
Yeah.
They are my people might say irrational fear, but they really scare me. This bird that she called is my worst fucking nightmare. But it also was so goofy. Like they made it so goofy that it made me it did like make me a little less like scared, but it really did. Honestly, if they had played it just a little bit darker, it would have given me
Mhm.
nightmares, truthfully.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
I know
okay.
because it's so goofy, but okay.
Yeah.
So she calls on the Bird of Mordred,
Mhm.
and Timmy's out hitchhiking still, walking down the road, and he looks behind him. He sees like this giant bird. He's like, "There's something coming towards me. It's
Yeah.
coming at me. Oh no." He starts running, right? He finds his way to like a ghost town. Why wasn't there anybody around?
No, not a soul in sight. It was wild. I was like, where are you? Like, literally, where are you? But I mean, when you get dropped off in the middle of nowhere, this is what happens.
Yeah, so he runs and it looked like they were like on like a boardwalk, like there was
Mhm.
like there's a restroom which
Yep.
plays a key role here, but there's
Very
like little businesses and stuff. So it,
Mhm.
like a newsstand and but there weren't any people, just Timmy running for his life. So he runs, but the bird very quickly finds him, catches up to him. And y'all, this Bird of Mordred, again, terrifying, but also, have you ever seen The Wiz, the movie?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. That bird to me was like a mix between the crows, the
Mhm.
crows, you can't win.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah. Between the crows and the flying monkeys. Like it
Yes.
looked
A
like
little
a mix
hybrid.
between
Mhm.
those two things in The Wiz. If y'all have not seen The Wiz, the movie The Wiz, shame on you, number one.
Mhm.
Number two, check it out.
For real.
Yeah, no, that's what it looked like, which again, it makes sense that it scared me because like those things scared me when I was a kid. Like
Mhm.
the crows were terrifying to me,
Oh yeah.
and the flying
Mhm.
monkeys, oh
Oh. Mm-mm. I was not about that life.
no, The
Mm-mm.
Wiz is a horror movie. Like it's terrifying,
It's scary.
especially if you're a child. When
Mhm.
those garbage cans come to life and like oh my god. Again, if you haven't watched The Wiz, you should watch it.
Yeah,
It's
I feel
very
like
good.
everybody needs to watch it at least once in their life.
Yeah, it's required viewing. What are you even doing with your life if you haven't seen The Wiz?
Yes.
Okay, it's one of my favorites. I have it on DVD. But anyway, moving on, the Bird of Mordred confronts Timmy and tries to like get him, but he runs and hides in a bathroom. I wrote he manages to give the bird the slip and hide in the bathroom. Did he do something
So, I mean, behind the bathroom or in the bathroom?
before the bathroom? Before he made it to the bathroom, how
I
did he
think
get
he
away
just
from
was
the
like,
bird?
kind of
Did a
weaving in and out.
maneuver, evasive
Yeah.
maneuvers?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't anything like crazy though.
So he gets to the bathroom, locks the door. The bird starts trying to break it down with this giant, horrific beak.
Oof.
And then Tabitha finally remembers, oh, wait a minute. I bought Timmy a cell phone because she's at this point has figured out that Timmy's gone
Mhm.
and
And
is
she's freaking out.
terrified because she's like, okay, the bird's after him. I need to warn him.
Mhm.
So she called him on his cell phone late night
Mm.
to tell him the bird's coming. Called him on his cell phone.
Hey, hey,
she called him.
hey.
She called him on his cell phone to warn him about the Bird of Mordred, and he's like, "Yeah, I've already met him. By the way,
Listen, you are about 5 minutes too late. The bird is here.
yeah, the bird is here." And so then she's like, okay, where are you? And he tells her where he is and what's going on, and she's like, well, I have a plan. And so he gets the toilet paper roll, like, and it's one of those big commercial ones. So
Right.
the roll is like kind of the circle, the hole
It's
is
huge.
larger,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
um she tells him to take the roll and slide it over the bird's beak the next time it comes through the door, so that it'll latch onto the bird, and it won't be able to open its mouth. It won't be able to breathe. It'll get scared and it'll run away. It'll fly away. Timmy does this and it works against all odds. I mean, what kind of demon bird gets scared of a toilet paper roll? You know, it's a toilet paper roll. You're a demon bird.
Make it make sense. I don't know.
You're supposed to be the most dangerous bird in the world.
You're a demon from hell.
Yeah, but it works. He puts it over.
Sitting here just like, I don't get it.
It was funny to me because he puts the roll over the bird's beak, but the bird could still open its mouth. It definitely would still be able to breathe. It immediately, the roll immediately fell off of its beak. I don't know why the bird ran away, right? Like it was no longer in danger.
It didn't make sense because I was like, okay, he's going to put this roll over, like the beak, it's gonna go through the beak, right? Or the beak's gonna go through the door. He's gonna put the roll over it, but then he's gonna try and open his mouth, not be able to move, and then back away, and then just stop. I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know. This bird, the bird runs away though.
Very for it to be the most demon, most intense bird of hell is afraid of toilet paper.
Not just toilet paper, the roll.
The roll.
It's scared of the roll. So the bird runs away. Tabitha tells Timmy, explains to Timmy what the bird was, why the bird was there, and explains that you need to get as far away from where you are as possible because Zombie Charity gave the bird instructions to either find you and bring you back dead or alive, or if they couldn't bring you back, to report to her what your location was. So you need to get out of there as fast as you possibly can. So Timmy hauls ass and starts going somewhere else, right? So Timmy finds himself, first, he's like, Timmy needs new clothes. I guess
the look.
I guess it was like he wanted to be in disguise, but Timmy, you are a very recognizable person. I don't think new clothes are gonna really make a difference. But he goes to like this leather shop and gets this leather daddy like outfit from head to toe, right? And then he ends up across the street at a biker bar, which was called, I think it was called like, I wrote it down.
It was something, it was like something Wiley or Wiley.
I think it was like Wiley Riders or something like that.
Wiley Riders or Rider Wiley, something like that.
Something like that. He ends up at this biker bar, okay? He goes inside and immediately this lady offers to give him a tattoo.
She was, well, no. It's not even that she offered. She was like, you're not a club member. And he was like, how do I become a club member? And she's like, you need a tattoo. I can give you a tattoo. My stand is right here. Let's go.
Yeah, and it was like a table with some Jack Daniels and a couple of needles on it. I was like, she's about to give you a tattoo and hepatitis, baby. Don't do that. Do not do that. But yeah, she was like, you need it. The guys here hate outsiders, and they know immediately that you're an outsider by the fact that you don't have a tattoo. And and by outsider, I mean that I imagine she means like not a part of like the biker world, not necessarily just this specific club, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so she offers to give him a tattoo. He takes her up on the offer and gets a tattoo from this lady. So go Timmy. I'm
gonna be rough. I'm gonna be a rough and tumble biker now.
Yeah, Timmy's assuming a whole new identity, basically. Yep. Then Timmy sees, okay, there's like this biker, this big burly dude playing. I was about to say golf. Playing, what's the game with the pole? Pool. Playing pool his girlfriend comes over to him and tries to like to the biker, and I guess she wants him to dance with her, and he's like, damn it, woman, you're so annoying, get out of here, like, ugh, yikes. And
Misogyny.
yeah, it was ridiculous. But Timmy walks over to him and is like, hey man, that's no way to talk to the fairer sex. And he
Like,
was
okay.
like, and the biker guy was like, yo, pipsqueak, you trying to die? You got a death wish? And Tammy's like, no. And then Glenda, that's the girl's name who did the tattooing, right?
Yeah.
Pulls Tammy away. She pulls him away and is like, don't do that. These guys will kill you. Actually, she said he'll stuff you in the trash can outside. So maybe they're a little gentler than I'm giving them credit for. Maybe he wouldn't kill him.
Well.
So Timmy, having been saved by Glenda, goes over to the jukebox and asks that blonde lady who was that other biker, whose name is Crusher, by the way. So I'm going to start using their names. At first, we don't know what their names are, and then they start saying each other's names. So the original biker who threatened Timmy and was rude to his own girlfriend, his name is Crusher. And then the tattoo lady, her name is Glenda. We don't find out the girlfriend's name, but she's blonde. She kind of looks like Sheridan, to be honest.
A little bit, yeah. I was like, is it Sheridan?
No, I was like Sheridan in Another Life.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah. So he goes over to the jukebox where the blonde girlfriend is, and he asks her to dance with him. He's like, would you like to dance with Timmy? And she at first is like, no, my boyfriend wouldn't like that. And he's like, oh, it's just a dance. And so she then looks over her boyfriend, and it seemed to me that she was like, yeah, this'll show him. This'll show him.
Okay, girl. Okay.
And so she agrees to dance with Timmy, and they have a nice little dance. But then Crusher does not like that. He sees Timmy dancing with his woman. He calls her his old lady. What are you doing dancing with my old lady? And it was so funny. There was one point when somebody said, oh, is she your old lady? I think Glenda says to Timmy, because Timmy tells her, I skipped over a bunch of stuff, but that's because it's all fucking recap. But Timmy recaps to Glenda at one point, and he tells her about Charity, and Glenda says, oh, is Charity your old lady? And Timmy's like, Charity's not an old lady. She's very young. He's just the sweetest.
The literalness is so sweet. Like, he's just trying to like, he's like, no, she's very, very young. Like,
yeah, she's not an old lady. It's so cute. It's like a child, which I guess he is. So anyway, he's dancing with Crusher's girlfriend. Crusher does not like that. He's like, that little guy is dead. And so he goes over and he tries to like fight with Timmy, but then Timmy's like, well, Timmy was just dancing. And because your girlfriend wanted to dance, like, why don't you dance with her? And Crusher's like, well, we have a secret. And all the bikers like gather around. He's like, we can't dance. And so Timmy then teaches them to dance, and they do multiple songs of them dancing. I don't know. Did you watch on YouTube?
Yeah.
I ended up having to switch over to like my own personal stash because YouTube, they had all of the music cut out. So it was like all of the dialogue was cut out too anytime like those songs were playing. But I was able to go over to my personal stash, and the music was there, and it was all fine. Oh, so I know what was going on, but the dialogue wasn't important. They were just thrilled that Timmy taught them to dance. It was so cute. I loved it. They did like, I want to say 4 different songs and did like choreography to like all of the songs. That's one thing I definitely need to clip and make sure I put up because it was so funny.
Oh yeah.
And I just loved it. And usually I can't stand this kind of stuff, but
it was fun.
I loved it. I really, really loved it. So he teaches all the bikers to dance. They're very grateful. Crusher's like, Timmy, anything you need. Anybody has beef with Timmy, they've got beef with Crusher. And then one of the random bikers is not so happy. I guess he didn't learn the steps because he goes over to Timmy and is like, I'm sick of you being here, getting in all our business. Why? And he like tries to attack Timmy, and Crush is like, no. And he defends Timmy and like kicks
Mhm.
that other guy's ass. It's like, if anybody's got beef with Timmy, they've got beef with Crusher. I was like, all right, Crusher. And then
Timmy
he
got an
asks,
entourage now.
well, then Timmy asks him, then Crusher asks Timmy, is there anything Crusher can do for you, Timmy? And Timmy's like, well, I could use a ride. And Crusher says, say less. Let's go, little buddy. Takes him outside, puts him in his sidecar on his bike, and they
Mhm.
drive off
Take
into the
off.
night. I loved this.
It was great. This was really, really fun. It was like a nice change of pace for what we're used to with magic, and Timmy, like he actually got to like be his own person and really just have some fun. And it was just really nice to see that come through.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it. I loved it. It was so nice to see Timmy doing his own thing like
Mhm.
really.
For once,
So,
because like
yeah.
every time we see him, like I would say 9 times out of 10, he is with Tabitha. So
Hmm.
they're always tied together. So to have him off on his own thing, and we're gonna have him off on his own thing for a bit. Like it's nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's already off to a fun start.
Yeah.
So to wrap up magic, let's talk about this bird. The bird has ran and flown back to Tabitha's house to report to Zombie, but Zombie is gone. I can't remember where she went. It doesn't
I think
matter. She wasn't at the
yeah.
house when the bird came
Mhm.
back. And I remember she told before she left, she told Tabitha, you need to stay here just in case the bird comes back. And
Mhm.
if the bird comes back with Timmy's remains, just tell it to bury him.
Right.
But if it doesn't, like, you let me know where the bird said Timmy is or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So the bird comes back ready to give its report, and Tabitha attacks it. She tackles this bird, and I loved it.
Literally, I was cackling because I was like, oh my gosh, we're like football season just restarted. I was like, this is like the perfect thing. Because the way she tackled him was like, I was like, girl, who you been hanging out with? A bunch of defensemen? Like, what's
Yeah,
going on?
she tackled him like she was a linebacker.
For
I don't know
real.
if linebackers tackle. I don't know what.
They do. They do.
Anyway, she tackled him, reminder, because I don't think I was clear enough. This bird is human sized. Like,
Right. Mm-hmm.
it is 6 feet tall.
Yep.
Like, it is human sized. And so she tackles that bird and wrestles with it for a while. Then she finds a lamp. She breaks the top, like the bulb off the lamp. She
Mm-hmm.
like, bring it on, little bird. Like, she electrocutes it
Mm-hmm.
and shocks it. And I guess that kind of sort of cooks it. Anyway, she shocks it, right? She kills it. She kills
Mm-hmm.
she killed the Bird of Mordred.
Yep.
Crazy.
Listen,
Um,
Tabitha, even without her powers, Tabitha is a force to be reckoned with.
she's a force. She really is, because Zombie comes back and Tabitha starts to panic. She's like, oh no, what am I going to do with the body? Right. Well, Hecuba to the rescue, because she finds a bottle that literally says Hecuba's magic dust. And she just starts shaking it all over this bird. And so when Zombie comes in, she's picking up this giant platter of like what looks like a giant cooked turkey. And
Mhm.
Zombie questions her about it. It's like, what the hell? When did you have time to cook an entire turkey while I was
Mhm.
gone or whatever? She's like, oh, I have my ways. Right. And then Zombie's like, well, I could go for a sandwich. So they take it to the kitchen, and the zombie starts cutting into it, takes a piece, eats, and she's like, bleh, something's wrong with this bird. You're trying to pass this bird off as a turkey. This isn't a turkey. I know what a turkey tastes like. This is a baby ostrich. I was like, okay. So she did not catch on. She keeps eating the
Nope.
baby ostrich. She's like super into
Mhm.
it.
Right.
And that's it for magic this week, I think.
Yep.
You have anything to
Mhm.
add?
No, I just loved this storyline. It was really, really fun. And yeah, it's like I said before, I'm just excited to kind of see where Timmy goes and how things kind of unfold while he's on the run.
On the run. So that's it for Magic. And now we're moving on to Theresa, Ethan, Gwen. I don't have like a sound for them. What would be a good sound for them? Because they have music. I need to get a music cue for that because we talk about it every week.
Yeah.
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 But
like lighter, I guess. I said something like lighter, maybe.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to see if because I'm trying to think of what their musical cue is, like what Theresa's whole thing is. So I have to like listen to it and see. But anyway,
yeah, I haven't paid attention.
We're on to Theresa and Ethan. Let's try this one. We're on to Theresa, Ethan, and Gwen.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. So y'all, okay, buckle in, strap in. We got a lot to kind of talk about. Yes, I'll see you in court, and yes, we did. We are seeing them in court. Here we go. Let's talk about it. I am starting to dislike this storyline. I know, gasp, but it's getting on my nerves. It's getting on my nerves. Theresa is like working my nerves. I love her, but I do feel, and I don't want nobody getting excited because it's not a turn to the Gwen side. It's more of a like, hell no. I can't with Theresa right now. Like, she's irritating the fuck out of me.
I think part of it too is like this Gwen that we currently have is not like evil Gwen. So it's like Theresa is like on one and you're just like, girl. Yeah. And so since Gwen is not that bad, you're like, well.
Well, yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's here we go. Theresa, Ethan, Gwen, all of this stuff. They're at court, right? Gwen questions or wait, do they start at court or do they start at home?
No, they start before court.
They do. You're right.
They start at home.
Yeah, I'm conflating some stuff. Okay. So we pick up and Gwen is like questioning Ethan at the mansion about if he's truly done with Theresa. And he explains to her that, yes, I am done with Theresa. I just don't want her to end up with nothing. She deserves to have something. And Gwen, this was like Gwen's line all week long. Is like, whatever happens to Theresa, it's her choice. Like, whatever happened to her, she brought it on herself, basically. Now, we do hear Rebecca say something similar later on, but when Rebecca says it, Gwen is not on board because Rebecca's talking about murdering Theresa. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there. Because Rebecca's like, whatever happens to her, she brought it on herself. And Gwen's like, not murder.
Like what?
Okay. So meanwhile, Theresa is having the same conversation with Pilar where she's like, I deserve to have everything. I will have everything. This is going to be my house. Julian ruined my life and I deserve some justice for that. Meanwhile, Alistair is looking on, and we talked about this last week where I have been saying for years on this podcast now that Alistair obviously has this house monitored, bugged video, right? I've been saying that for years. We had never actually seen him watching what was going on in the mansion up until this point. Now. But I said this last week, but I'm going to keep saying it because I feel so vindicated in this. There's no way that Alistair did not know that Ethan was not a Crane. There's simply no way. The number of times we watched Ivy stand in that living room looking at that locket, going, oh, Ethan can never know that Sam is his real father. The number of times we heard her and Pilar have full-blown conversations about
Mm-hmm.
Sam Bennett. There's simply no way Alistair did not know about
Mm-hmm.
Ethan's true paternity. And that's all I'm gonna say about
Leave
that
that.
this
Mm-hmm.
week. But next week I will say that again. Just just brace
Yep.
yourselves, okay?
Yep.
I'm gonna keep saying that. So anyway, Alistair is watching all of this while Pilar is pleading with her daughter to not do this, telling her you're gonna end up with nothing. And Alistair says, Mama knows best, Theresa. Mama knows best, Theresa. Teresa. He says her name
Teresa.
in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
He says Teresa. Teresa.
Yeah, Teresa.
Yeah. So
Teresa.
he's watching on, he's scheming, plotting as he does. Pilar then says to Theresa, she says, you've changed into a vindictive brat who only cares about money, and I'm ashamed of you. But Theresa pushes back on this, saying, why would I settle for half an empty glass when I deserve a glass that's all the way full? You know, sometimes the girl be making sense. I was like,
You ain't wrong.
she's not. I get it. You do deserve a full glass. Like, I hear you. But you also turned down $10 million. Ugh. I just feel like you could have just taken that money. But of course, it's not about the money. And
It's
it's
not
never been
about the
about
money for her. It's never been about the money. It's
Mhm.
always been about Ethan at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
It's always been about Ethan at the end of the day, but the money does matter, right?
Money
But
helps.
the
Money
reason
makes life easier.
Well, it makes it life easier, but also, like, for Teresa's perspective, to Theresa, the money is going to aid in getting Ethan back, right? Like, the money is part of it. So we can't say it's entirely not about the money, because her plan is to use the money to get Ethan back, right? She wants to. It is all about Ethan, but she needs the money in her mind on this harebrained scheme. She needs the money to get Ethan back. So anyway, she says, I deserve a glass that's all the way full. And Pilar says to her, half is better than nothing, which is also true, which is also correct.
Very, very, very true.
But Theresa says, Julian ruined my life and I deserve everything. Okay. She's also not in her right mind, right? Like, she's 18, 19, she's pregnant, right? And she got pregnant in the worst way possible.
Terribly.
By the worst person in town. She's just not all the way, she's not thinking straight. She really isn't. So Woody, our Woody Stumper, I love Woody. I love Woody. Woody shows up to the mansion to tell Theresa that they are due in court in a couple of hours. He's like, we need to go get you an outfit that shows just how pregnant you really are. He's like, and we're going to try and play up that pathetic card in court. You, the lowly housekeeper's daughter. And Pilar gets so frustrated with the whole the narrative that he's
over this man.
Yeah. Oh, she can't stand him. She hates him. But honestly, I love Woody. But if Woody was talking about me and my profession
or my kid, I'd be like,
I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. So meanwhile, Ethan also has found out that they're due in court. And he says to Gwen and Ivy and Rebecca, he has a slam dunk case. This is an open and shut case. There's no way Theresa can win, right? So they all go to court. Ethan asks to speak to Theresa before the proceedings start. He pulls her to the side and asks her one last time to dismiss her suit. Then she feels the baby kick, and she's like, oh, the baby, it just kicked. And she felt, I could see in her eyes that it was kind of wondrous to her, like wonderful to kind of feel that. And then there's like a little switch where she goes, that was my baby, kicking me, telling me not to give up. But baby, it could have been your baby kicking you to say, yes, take the money.
Take the money. Let's roll, mama.
You could really if the baby kicks, you could really take it as a sign for anything.
Anything. It could also just be gas.
Could just be gas. It could be your baby kicking like, I'm hungry.
Right?
To eat. Yeah.
Like,
feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long. I'm
Mhm.
doing a little more, little shop, little stuck in the little shop this week. Femissimo. Okay, so anyway, the baby kicks. She takes it as a sign that her baby doesn't want her to give up on her lawsuits.
Mhm.
And so she's like, game on, right? Ethan basically is like, okay, well, that's what it is. And so Woody gets up first, lays out Theresa's claim and everything, right? And sorry, I lost my place in my notes because I can't print them anymore because my printer's broken.
Oh no.
Um Ethan, they go to court. Woody lays. Okay, sorry. So Woody lays out Theresa's whole claim, tells the whole sad, sorry tale about Bermuda and her being a, a young woman who's taken advantage of, and also does talk about Pilar, like brings up Pilar being a housekeeper, and Pilar almost comes across the courtroom, like she almost comes over the table
Yep.
to him, and they
Mhm.
have to like subdue her because she's pissed.
Yep.
And then he like closes his argument saying like, yeah, she deserves the whole estate. She is the one and only Mrs. Julian Crane. Ethan then argues that because they haven't found Julian's body,
Mhm.
and he's only technically missing. He's not legally dead. And it takes 7 years to declare somebody legally dead, and
Mhm.
that the divorce from Ivy wasn't legal because the state that they're in doesn't what's the word I'm looking for?
Recognize.
There it is. Doesn't doesn't recognize like island
Mhm.
divorces, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And so the divorce wasn't legal.
Mhm.
He then argues that when Theresa and Julian got married, they were not of sound mind, and it is generally understood that people enter into a marriage having full use of their faculties,
Right.
which, to be honest, I'm sorry, that one for me doesn't really hold up. And they made such a big deal about this particular point.
Yeah.
But that point to me is like the least legally viable point of the whole of his whole argument.
Mhm.
Because how many people go to Vegas and get drunk and
And
get
get
married?
married
Like it's a trope in movies and everything because people do it all the time.
all the time. All the time.
So, and
As
those
long as you
marriages are
sign on the
perfectly
dotted
legal.
line, like you're married. Who can like they literally don't care what state you're in.
Yeah, those marriages are perfectly legal. So to me, that doesn't hold up. But I would have to talk to Karen. We would have to talk with our own Passions legal
Passions
counsel.
legal counsel that also is not a representative of legal counsel.
Yes, right. But I need to consult with my own legal counsel, Karen, because she will be able to tell us. So I'm gonna have to check in with her on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So he says they weren't of sound mind. Neither of them knew what they were doing when they got married. Teresa exclaims, "That's not true. I knew exactly what I was doing." Bitch, what are you saying?
Mhm.
What are you saying, Teresa? Shut up. And Woody's like, no, you can't, and I think the judge also is like, get a hold of your client, Mr. Stumper. Oh, so then Rebecca, the courtroom just kind of like descends into a little bit of madness because Rebecca jumps up and is like, see, I told you she was a gold digger. She just admitted it. And then Pilar defends Teresa and is like, how dare you judge my daughter? You have the morals of an alley cat. She doesn't say that, but
Yeah.
basically. So the judge calls for order to back to his classroom, to his, what is this called? A courtroom. Yeah, my vocabulary today, I'm confused. I'm hungry. I ain't ate nothing. I'm tired. Okay, so
Don't worry, we'll be done soon.
we really will. This is kind of a short week. If there wasn't like a ton this week, we only have 3 storylines to cover, and we're in the second one. So Ethan calls for Theresa to be a witness. He's like, I'd like to call Theresa Lopez Fitzgerald as a witness. Woody advises against it. He's like, I don't advise you to get on the stand.
Mhm.
Like, no, don't do this. But she is insistent, saying, Ethan loves me. There's no way he would do anything to hurt me. Girl, what are you talking about? What are
girl.
you talking about? Like, he's doing a job, and he has tried to Ethan's credit, he has tried to avoid having to do this to you. He really did
Mm-hmm.
try to avoid having to do this to you. But at the end of the
He
day,
tried
he is a
multiple
lawyer,
times.
and he is trying to win his case, and he has more loyalty to his mother than he does to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Like, y'all didn't get married.
Yeah. So he puts her up on the stand. She decides to get up there saying, Ethan loves me. There's no way that he would hurt me because he loves me. Then Woody's like, okay, well, if I touch my right, I can't remember exactly what the signals were, but he was like, if I touch my right ear, that means answer the question. If I touch my
Mm-hmm.
left ear, that means lie, deflect, do whatever you have to
Mm-hmm.
do, just do not answer the question, right? And so he gets her up on the stand, and also Pilar tells her that she needs to tell the truth no matter what, right? Of
Right.
course. But Theresa says to her, I'll do whatever it takes to win. I'll do whatever I have to do to win. Well, she gets up on the stand. She immediately buckles. Like, crumbles under the
Crumbles.
weight of Ethan's glaring eyes, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
she could not get past. I mean, and it makes sense. She does love Ethan, and he was a little rough on her. So let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about it. So he brings her up to the stand, and he asks her about what her mental state was and her mental faculties when she married Julian. And she lies and says, we both knew what we were doing when we got married. And then he says, well, if that's the case, then that means that you have lied to everybody in this courtroom repeatedly when you told us that you both were drunk and he took advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
So then he says to her, is that true, Theresa? Did you lie? Have you been lying to me this whole time? Did you never love me? Uh-oh. Did you and you know she in trouble now. He says, did you never love me? Was everything that we shared, was it all a lie from the
Mm.
beginning? And she's like, no, Ethan, I always loved you. Everything I've ever done was for you. I love you. I
Oh
never
my
loved Julian.
goodness.
I got drunk. She lets loose, right? And tells the truth, right? And tells the truth about what happened in Bermuda. And she tells him everything she ever did was because she loved him, and she begs him to tell her how he feels about her. But the judge is like, that's not what we're here for, girl.
Right, exactly. She was literally like, I need to hear from him. And the judge is literally like, girl, we need to get back on track. This is
Yeah,
not, you can figure that out after the case.
yeah. So she comes she comes off of the stand. Ethan sits down at his like table with Ivy. Theresa goes over to the table, leans across, put both hands down on the table, leans into Ethan's face, and it's like, you have to tell me, do you love me? Did you like it was I I'm sorry, this girl is nuts. I was just like, oh my God, Theresa, girl, go sit the fuck
Down.
down, baby. Just go sit down.
Just embarrassing herself. Like,
Yeah. And she begs him. She leans over to him. She begs him, tell me, Ethan, do you love me? Tell me how you feel about me. She's distraught. And again, a reminder, she is very pregnant, so there's probably a lot of emotions involved in this anyway. But she already is just like not the most stable person
right,
in the world,
right,
regardless of the
right.
pregnancy.
Plus,
Um,
she's young still. Like,
yeah.
she's
Yeah.
18, 19, like dealing with like this craziness.
Yeah. So Ethan basically ignores her. The judge is like, get a hold of your client, Mr. Stumper. And so she goes back over to her table, sits down. Ethan gives his closing arguments and asks the court to dismiss Theresa's entire claims. So then the judge is like, all right, I'm gonna go deliberate. He goes
Mhm.
to his chambers to deliberate, and who is sitting in his damn chair but Big Daddy Alistair Crane himself?
Mhm. This
Big Daddy Crane is sitting there, and he tells the judge, and of course we don't see him, we only see his hands, right?
Mhm.
We get the point of view of the we get Alistair's point of view, so we
Right.
can see the judge and we can see Alistair's
Mhm.
hands. Um he tells the judge that I want you to do exactly what I tell you to do in this case, right?
Mhm.
The judge objects at first. He's like, I have to uphold the law and I can't.
Mhm.
And then Alice is like, well, you didn't have this kind of energy when I was rigging that election for you. He
Caught
said,
him.
Alice is like, it would be a shame if I had to call for a recount and had to tell the media how you actually lost that election and manipulated the ballots. So, he's blackmailing this
Mhm.
judge to basically have the ruling that Alistair tells him to
To
rule,
get
right?
it. Yeah. Mhm.
So at this point, to me, it was and I also just know what happens, but it
Right.
also was
Yeah.
kind of obvious that Alistair was like doing some bullshit and it was gonna
Mhm.
go to Theresa.
Yeah.
Um, for multiple reasons. One, Theresa was distraught. She's like, I ruined it. I've ruined everything. I should have lied. Woody's like, yeah, you should have lied. Pilar's like, no, you did the right thing. You
Yeah.
told the truth. Meanwhile, Ivy is happy as a clam. She's over the moon. She's like, Theresa will
Mhm.
get nothing. You did an excellent job, honey, to Ethan. You gave an amazing case, made a great case, and everybody is feeling Ivy is feeling a little smug, right? So is
Mhm.
Rebecca, weirdly enough. And there was a moment when Rebecca said something kind of as an aside, but the audio was too bad and I couldn't fully
Mhm.
understand what she said. But basically, she was like, yes, Teresa's going down, and there was like bad audio, and she was like, and I'll be the one and only Mrs. Crane. It's like, but
Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
know
like,
what.
girl, no, you're not. Like, Ivy would be it before you. Like,
Yeah. It doesn't make sense because obviously if the judge is upholding that the divorce wasn't legal, then your
then
marriage
Ivy
wasn't
wins.
legal either.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, Teresa thinks it's over, right? But then of course she's like, but mama, I told the truth. That's it.
Ugh.
Ethan's gonna love me because I told the truth. So she tries to get Ethan back in this moment, talking about some Ethan, don't you see? I told the truth. And he was like, you were under oath. And she was like, yeah, but I told the truth to great detriment to myself. And he was like, he was like, I need you to get this through your head. I don't want to be with someone who I have to put under oath to get the truth out of
Literally.
them. It was honestly, he ate that little bit right
He
there. Like
did. He
he
really did.
like that
He
was a
really
read.
did.
That was a read and a half. And I was like, he's not wrong. He was like, you were under oath. And the funny thing is, she was under oath and she lied. She lied under oath at
She did.
first. And when he kind of pressed her on it, she told
Then
the
she
truth.
told the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, girl, Theresa, girl.
She's funny.
my delusional baby. I love her. She getting on my nerves though. So anyway, the judge comes back after his deliberations.
Mhm.
Alistair is there with like his latest assistant who he obviously is having sex with and having relations with. And he's like standing in the back shaking his fist like this at the judge. And and the judge comes back and he starts to give his verdict, right? And it sounds like he's going to side with Ivy and Ethan. Let's see what he says. He says,
There's something about like due to the way, Ethan had presented the evidence in this case, and the fact that the divorce was you know done in the islands, that the way that everything should be done, Teresa shouldn't be seen as the real Mrs. Crane.
yeah,
However,
however, comma. So I want to say too. So he says, Mr. Winthrop has been a fine attorney and his work in this court has been exemplary. And then he says, yes, Julian's body hasn't been found. However, they did find his effects in several cans of tuna from the cannery, from the Crane cannery. And I just want to talk about how the bailiff was eating a sandwich and we get this sight gag of him like throwing the sandwich, like getting disgusted and throwing the sandwich away. He's like, ugh.
he's like,
That
yeah,
was funny.
I'm gonna get something else to eat.
Yeah. And so then the judge goes on to say, he says, so Julian is presumed dead and his estate should go to his widow. He says, with the evidence that was presented the way that Mr. Winthrop has organized it, the court would be led to find that Miss Theresa Lopez Fitzgerald should lose her case and should be held in contempt of court for wasting the court's time. I was like, what are you talking about? That's not contempt of court. She brought
No.
a suit. She brought a reasonable suit. She
Right.
brought a very reasonable suit, like against the court. It's not contempt of court. She's not wasting the court's time. Losing in court does not mean you wasted the court's time.
Right.
So that annoyed me. But anyway, he says the court might find that she should lose her case and should be held in contempt of court. But then he says the evidence isn't always exactly as it seems, what it seems. Everything is not what it seems when you can in your wildest dreams. Did you ever watch Wizards of Waverly Place? I was probably too old to be watching it, but I used to watch it because I used to babysit a lot.
Yeah.
And I used to love those Disney Channel shows.
Listen, I watched a lot of them.
Yeah. And I really liked Wizards of Waverly Place, mainly because I really liked the theme song. All of those theme songs used to hit. Like those like
the Proud Family theme song was it.
Yes. You and me will always be tight, family every single day and night. Even when you start to acting like a fool, you know I'm loving every single thing you do. The family,
Yes.
the family, Proud Family. Yes, I used to love the Proud Family. Love.
Yes. So good.
So anyway, everything is not what it seems, says this judge, and he says the court recognizes the divorce of Julian Crane and Ivy Crane. Oh, that's the start of it. Ethan says, what? Then he says the court finds for Mrs. Theresa Lopez Fitzgerald, hereafter to be known as Mrs. Julian Crane, the sole Mrs. Julian Crane, and the beneficiary of Julian's entire estate. She won. Theresa won. Of course, it was through Julian's machinations. Not Julian, Alistair's machinations.
Right.
But
she won.
She doesn't know that, and she didn't have anything to do with that. Right? I don't know what Alistair is up to.
It's part of some big evil plan he's got, which the judge was like, what, like, why would you want this? And he's like, you don't need to know.
Yeah.
You just need to do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Basically, that's basically exactly what happens when the judge goes back to his chambers. The entire courtroom is in disbelief and disarray.
Shambles.
Ethan is fully and completely outraged and says that they will be filing an appeal. Theresa, of course, is over the moon, and she offers Woody a position as chief counsel of like the Crane
legal department.
Yeah, I was like, okay, girl. You know what? The thing about Theresa is because she grew up like a working class young lady, I can imagine she would treat people who work for her with far more dignity and respect than Ivy or Julian ever did. Yeah.
100%.
I would work for Theresa.
Oh,
I would keep my hands clean, but I would work for Theresa.
For real. No, and like you can see, like, we'll get to it when they get home, but like that, like you could see the staff is excited.
Yeah. Oh my God. They meet her at the door, Annie style.
Literally.
I think I'm gonna like it here. They should have done that. Oh God, they should have done that. I wish they had done that. That was really a golden fucking opportunity that they absolutely missed.
Yep.
I think they just weren't doing all of the musical numbers yet. Like we weren't there, but this would have been such a good. It was because they all meet her at the door like they did in Annie, and it was so good. So anyway,
we gotta rewind.
Over the moon. Yeah, we gotta rewind, go back to the courtroom before they get to the mansion. Ethan says he's gonna appeal. Ivy's mad as hell. She comes zooming over in that wheelchair, yelling at Theresa, "I'll never let you take my home. I am Mrs. Crane." And she tries to attack Theresa, but Woody just like stands in front of her and like holds back her wheelchair. At one point, her wheelchair goes up on two wheels. She's like so mad. Like they're trying to hold her back, but she's like zooming, right? And Ethan tells her to calm down, saying we have to go through the proper legal channels. He tells Woody get ready for the appeal, and Woody says, "Be my guest." He says, "You know better than anyone else the size and scope of the Crane legal machine. It's over,
Mhm,
baby, and you know it." Ah! I was like, yes, it's over. And so then Ethan appeals to Theresa, saying to
mhm,
her, "You know this isn't right." I'm sorry. It's one thing for Ethan to be like hurt, whatever. It's one thing for her to be worried about Ethan, but for Ethan to be like, this isn't right. No, what I know is that your mother has and Rebecca have treated me like absolute dog shit for the last year and a half,
mhm,
2 years. That's what
mhm.
I know, and I know that wasn't right. And you
Right.
you
Didn't really
spoke
do
up
much
here
about
and
it.
there, but you didn't do enough about it. Yeah, so shut the fuck up talking to me about this isn't right.
Mhm.
Well, the court seems to disagree with you.
And we gonna go with what the law says. And
Yeah,
the law says that I am Mrs. Julian Crane. So bye.
yeah, bye, basically. Bye, bitch. So, and I wish Theresa would have just gotten over Ethan. Like, if she had just been like, okay, you know what? I'm Mrs. Julian Crane. Now I got all this money.
Mhm,
You know what? I'm going to actually just leave Ethan in the dust. I would have been so okay with that because
mhm.
he is going to be her downfall.
Yeah.
He's going to be her downfall.
Mhm,
And so, Ethan tells her this isn't right, and she says, it's like you said earlier, Ethan. This isn't personal. It's just business." And then she says, "And I would like you to inform your client that I would like to see her and Rebecca at my house as soon as possible." And so then she turns around and her driver is there waiting like for her. And Ivy's like, "What are you doing? You're my driver." And Teresa's like, "No, he's Mrs. Crane's driver." And so she starts to leave. Ivy starts losing it. She's like, "Teresa, you bitch." it was great.
Ethan's like holding on to the back of
Yeah,
the
trying to
wheel.
hold her back. So
Oh, Lord.
Pilar also tries to tell Teresa that this isn't right and not to basically kick Ivy and Rebecca out of the house, whatever, blah blah blah.
Mhm,
But Teresa's like, "No, the court is right, and Ivy and Rebecca have never shown me any mercy, and I'm not gonna show them any now. No
mhm,
more weakness, mama." That's what she says. No more weakness. And she says, "I was weak up on that stand when I told the truth, and I almost lost everything for it." Except here's the thing. Her telling the truth on the stand didn't affect it in any way. Right?
no.
You didn't, so that wasn't weakness. It actually turned out to be, I guess, a strength in a way because you
Mhm.
won the case overall. So even though again, she doesn't know what's
He
going on
doesn't know.
behind the scenes, but
Right.
still for her to think like, "Oh, I was weak on the stand by telling the truth." That's it.
Mhm,
She is equating that with being weak,
mhm,
but she actually won the case. So it doesn't, to me, it doesn't mesh as well. But
mhm.
anyway, she's like, "No more weakness." And she then says, "Oh well, we talked about the judge. He
Yeah.
asked Alistair, and Alistair explains like,
Mhm.
don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry about it, sweetheart." Is basically what he says to him. "Don't worry about it, sweetheart. This I got a plan. This that split." Okay.
Mhm.
And then Alistair leaves for a baseball game with his assistant.
He's coming up to Boston to see the
Yeah,
Red Sox.
going to see the Sox. And so then Teresa goes back to the mansion, and that's when all the staff are there beaming. "Welcome home, Mrs. Crane. I think I'm gonna like it here." Oh, they really, really, really should have
Have been
done
perfect.
that. Yeah, I wish they had done that. Anyway, they all meet her at the door, and she's happy. They're happy. They're happy. Now, I think they're probably happy they don't have to work for Ivy anymore. Ivy's a bit like was horrible to them.
Ivy was evil. Like
Yeah.
I can only imagine like the things that she would make them do, like how she would refer to them. I mean, like we've heard how she refers to Teresa and Pilar, and so we know it was not sunshine and roses in the Crane mansion.
No,
Like it was not good.
no.
And they've seen obviously with Theresa working at the mansion, with Pilar being who she is. Like, they know what they're about to get, and it's about to be really good for
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah. And Theresa had already told Phyllis, like, if you work for me, I'm gonna give you a raise. I'm gonna give you benefits. So you know, she's for the people. Teresa's for the people. So anyway, Theresa gets back to the mansion. Everybody's happy that she's there. She tells her mama that this is fate. Fate did this for me and made all this happen. And now I can concentrate on getting Ethan and making Ethan mine again. Girl, stop with the Ethan stuff. Please, please.
I just don't get it.
Well, Ivy shows up breathing fire.
Literal flames.
Yeah, she comes in breathing fire. Rebecca and Gwen come in behind her. Ethan shows up as well. Theresa explains that she wants Ivy and Rebecca packed and out of the mansion in 10 minutes. And then she calls train security and they come walking in. And Ivy, I can't remember what their names were, but she was
like Joe, Billy, and Steve or something.
Yeah, she was like, you've worked for me for years. And they're like, well, we don't now.
Not anymore. We work for that lady.
Ethan says, unfortunately, we have to do what Theresa wants because this is legally her house now. Ivy and Rebecca start contemplating orchestrating a little accident for Theresa, if you know what I mean, right? Right? They're like, maybe she can have a fall down the stairs, which they've been talking about for about 2 weeks now. But now they're really like, maybe we should kill her for real, for real.
Yep.
Pilar I'm sorry, Pilar wasn't super doing it for me this week, to be honest. Pilar tells Theresa, this is just cruel, Theresa. And Theresa says, this is nothing. It's only the beginning of the pain and suffering I'm going to she used Tabitha's line right there. This is only the beginning of the pain and suffering I'm going to inflict on those two. And Pilar warns her, don't let this house and all this money turn you into a Crane. And she says, you will never be happy in this house. Now, I agree with the latter part of this. Like, you're not going to be happy in this house. Like, you basically be careful what you wish for kind of thing.
Right.
The first part of it, her telling Theresa that she's being cruel by putting them out of the house, I don't agree with. I don't agree with. That is like, they can find somewhere else to stay. This is my house.
100%.
Not only is this my house, although Theresa doesn't necessarily know this, but they're contemplating killing her. So anyway, her telling her like it's cruel to put Ivy and Rebecca out. It was cruel of them to put Theresa out over and over again. And when Theresa showed up, I want to remind everybody, Theresa showed up to that house to make peace with those bitches at one point. She showed up to be like, hey, I don't want this. I just want my baby to be taken care of. They did not listen to her. They wouldn't listen to her. They threw her out. So Pilar says it's cruel to do this to Ivy and Rebecca, even though Ivy and Rebecca, especially Rebecca, have never had a kind word to say about Theresa. At least Ivy used to like Theresa for a little bit, but Rebecca has never had anything nice to say about Theresa. She has plotted on her over and schemed on her over and over and over again. So like, why would you, this is my house now. I'm not going to let these fucking people who have nothing but the worst intent for me live in my house with me. I don't feel safe with them here. Yeah. Plain and simple. And little does she know, they're plotting her murder.
Exactly. So she's very justified. She's very justified.
Yeah. I don't know. Pilar, that didn't do it for me. So, but I did appreciate what Pilar said about her, the money turning her into a Crane and how this house is not going to make you happy. And I was like, yeah, that's fair enough.
That's true.
And so meanwhile, Ethan has a conversation with Gwen where he tells Gwen, he's like, I really wish our mothers hadn't taken such a hard line stance on Theresa. If they hadn't done that, none of this would be happening, basically. He's like, at this point, she just wants revenge. And he's right about that. Gwen then finds her mother and Ivy plotting, and she says, are you plotting to kill Theresa? And Rebecca starts to rationalize it, saying, well, whatever happens to Theresa, she brought it on herself. And Gwen's like, not murder. She's like, not murder. Ivy then calls it so Gwen says the thing about not murder, and Ivy
Mhm.
calls it self-defense. She's like, well, it really would be more like self-defense than murder.
Like,
But then
oh.
Gwen tells them in no uncertain terms, I will not be a part of this. And
Mhm.
if anything happens to Theresa or her baby, because she brings up the fact, she's like, y'all are gonna try and kill her. She's pregnant. Like that's a
Mhm.
child that has nothing to do with this. Um,
Right.
and so she says, if anything happens to Theresa or her baby, I won't sit still. I will definitely point the cops in your direction. Basically, is what she says. She says,
Mhm.
I'll everyone will know that you had something to do with it. Good on Gwen for that. Good on Gwen.
Honestly, I was impressed. I was
Yeah.
impressed.
She says if anything happens to Theresa, the two of you will take the fall. Good, good for Gwen.
Yeah.
Truthfully, yeah. I mean, I can't. You got to draw the line somewhere. Damn, you
Somewhere, yeah.
got to draw the line somewhere. And again, Gwen, if Gwen is involved in a plot to kill Theresa, how does that make her look to Ethan?
Right, exactly. It does
Right?
not look good. It's not going to incline him to be like, "Yes, you should also be my wife." No,
No.
not at all. Not at all.
Um. So, Ethan then talks to Theresa and asks her if she's changed her mind
Mhm.
about them staying there because Theresa realizes that if Ivy goes, so does Ethan. She didn't think that through, I guess.
Mhm.
But Ethan was like, "Well, I guess I'll go upstairs and pack my things and go." And she was like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Wait, what? Did you change your mind?" Which I think was a little bit of a manipulation tactic, to
Mhm.
be honest.
Of
Like,
course.
I
But
think.
I mean, yes, he's trying to, you know, I mean, he also will be homeless. So
I
he's
mean, he can always go to his dad's house.
I mean, yeah, that's
And
true.
they were letting him stay at the B&B for free, I think.
Were they?
Mhm.
Oh, that's true.
He had
That's
a
true.
room at
Okay,
the
so he might
B&B.
not
I
be
don't know how many
homeless,
rooms
homeless.
there are at this B&B because right now, they had Ethan staying there, they had Chad staying there, they
Mhm.
had Hank staying there, they had John staying there,
Mhm.
and his daddy. Like, how many rooms are at this B&B? And are y'all making any
Mhm.
money right now?
Is anybody paying?
Right.
Because then also, what is Jessica doing? Jessica's working all this work for
For
what?
free.
For no money?
For free. Child labor.
Make it
Poor
make it
Jessica.
make sense.
Justice for Jessica. Truly.
Poor
Justice for Jessica. I'm
Jessica.
going to get t-shirts that say justice for
Justice.
Jessica.
Hashtag justice for Jessica.
Yeah. Passions. Hashtag justice for Jessica. We gotta do justice for Jessica, justice for Simone. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rebecca tells sorry. No, Ethan. Ethan and Theresa. Ethan asks Theresa if she's changed her mind. Theresa
Mhm.
realizes if Ivy goes, Ethan goes. So then Theresa says, oh, no, Ivy and Rebecca can both stay here, and so can you. You can all stay here. Why would you let Rebecca stay? Ivy, okay. Right? Like, okay.
Mhm.
Ivy is like, yeah, this is her house. It was her house for a really long time. She's in
Right.
that wheelchair. She also is Ethan's mom.
Mhm.
Rebecca, if you get rid of Rebecca, you
Nothing.
also probably get rid of Gwen. Get
Right.
rid of her.
Mhm.
Send her home.
Mhm.
Send that bitch packing because she has
Basically.
zero claim, zero stake here. None.
None. Zero.
But she agrees to let them all stay at the mansion. This is silly. I don't get it,
I was
but
like, for her own peace, like currently while she's pregnant, this is not smart. But
at
okay.
all. I mean, yeah, a lot. She doesn't do a lot of smart things. Let's be honest.
Okay.
She's not a smart girl. I love her. I love her. She's not all
No.
the way there.
The
So,
smarts comes later. She still needs to mature.
yeah, she has to grow up. So that's that. It's now the time to talk about Sheridan and Luis. You ready?
Girl, I mean, we can get this one done in about 5 minutes because
Yeah,
it's not that much.
let's get into Shawise. Oh, goodness gracious. Y'all want to know what my very first note is? It just says nonsense. That's all it said. It just it just says nonsense. So Diana collapses next to the elevator coughing at one point. That's my next note.
I'm telling you, it was just foolishness this week.
I'm sick of these. I'm sick of these people, and I'm glad that at least this week we basically are done with this whole Bermuda thing. As
Yeah.
far as Sheridan, I mean, as far as Luis and Beth being there, I'm sick of
Right.
it. Sick
Yeah.
of it. So anyway, y'all, honestly, I don't even remember what's going on. So Diana is collapsed next to the elevator. Oh, here's
Yeah.
what happened.
She
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she is like, "Oh, I'm gonna go find Brian." And so she's like coughing as she's running down the stairs. Then she thinks she sees, or no, she does see Luis going down the hallway. So she's like, "Oh my God, that's my person." And so she goes to chase him, but then um she gets stuck in between this like group of people who are also getting onto the elevator, and then like there's no room for her, and they close the door, and then she collapses onto the ground, and she's like crying.
She
And
was
then
beating the
yeah,
door
like,
the love
open
of
up,
my
that's my
life is
lover
on
in there.
there.
And I'm like, girl.
It was such nonsense. Well, then the elevator doors open, and of course Brian steps off the elevator, and he
But she thinks it's Luis.
yeah, she thinks it's Louise. Confused, of course. He
Mhm.
attributes it all to her fever. She realized
Mhm.
she comes out of the haze and realizes it's
Yeah.
Brian. And then he takes her back to the room, and then he lays this weird guilt trip on her that I
Mhm.
did not care for.
Yeah.
Because he starts talking about how she's still having visions of her lost love or whatever. He's like, you know what? This is my fault. It's my fault you keep having these visions. I was pushing you to move past your past, but maybe you should just let yourself be blanketed up in your past. It didn't feel like he was being genuine. He was like, maybe I should back off and let you just be be consumed by your past. Here's the problem. She doesn't know her past. So shut
Right.
up about that. She has amnesia. I think
Mhm.
if she has these like visions, these flashes or whatever, that is actually a good thing. It is not a bad
Right.
thing. She shouldn't be trying to suppress them
Mhm.
unless she doesn't want to remember her past, but she does.
But she does. So let
Yeah.
her.
So he successfully makes her feel guilty,
Mhm.
and she tells him that she doesn't want to miss out on this chance. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been so wrong, so cruel." And also, I want to note that she was coughing before, right? She was
Mhm.
like saying they were saying like how sick she is. She was talking in like this weird rasp, but all of a sudden, right now, her voice is fine, perfectly fine. And
Mhm.
I like keep that in mind for what happens later. She's fine when she's talking to him. Her voice is there's nothing wrong with her voice. She tells him, you know, I'm sorry that I've been overlooking you all of this time. I've been, you know, thinking about this stuff from my past, but I don't want to miss out on the chance to have love with you.
Mhm.
And she says she hasn't been fair to him. And then they kiss and they begin to make love. They do the beginnings of lovemaking, which
Mhm.
the, they have established she
Mhm.
has a fever and is sick, like really sick. They have established
Mhm.
she's sick.
Mhm.
I first of all, get your mouth away from my mouth.
Thank you. Mhm. I'm
Because
not trying to be making out with you
if you
while
have a
you have a
fever,
fever and sick, like you don't feel good. And then somebody's got to take care of you. Like this doesn't make any sense. Then we're both gonna get sick. No.
yeah, we're just both gonna be sick with whatever the fuck you have. I
Mm.
don't want it.
Yeah.
Please keep that over there. But I
Yep.
would have to get her own room. Like
Mhm.
COVID has changed me. I you know like quarantine girl.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's sick, but they start fucking. So
Mhm.
regardless, but they don't make it all the way, but they're trying
Right.
starting to get it on.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, Luis has a similar conversation with Beth in the hallway,
Mhm.
basically telling her, I'm sorry that it has taken me so long and I keep having like these thoughts of Sheridan. But Beth is, of course, extremely understanding. She's like,
Yep.
no, it's okay. Like, I love you. I'll wait for you forever.
Forever.
And Luis then asks Beth, like, can you please just take a chance on me? I'm gonna try and be a good man for you. It was sweet. And
Mhm.
then they kiss and he picks her up and takes her into the room and they start trying to get it on.
Mhm.
So the both of the couples are trying to make love in these adjoining rooms next to each
Mhm.
other, and they both get interrupted. First,
Mhm.
Brian like pulls away from Sheridan because he's like, "Well, you have a fever." Like, yeah, the fact that you even started this.
Right. Doesn't make any sense, but okay, sure.
Yeah, and then Luis pulls away, or no, he doesn't pull away. What happens is
Yeah.
there's a knock on their door,
Mhm.
and it's their costumes for the costume ball that has arrived.
Mhm.
The costumes have arrived, and by costume, I don't even know.
It was evening wear,
It was a
like
tuxedo
for
and a
a
gown.
ball. Yeah,
A
it was just a
tuxedo and a
gown.
gown. I don't
Yeah.
know why they're calling this a costume ball. Because, I mean, yeah, I guess you could call it a masquerade because they gave them
Right.
masks later, but it is
Mhm.
not a costume. A costume
Uh,
ball, it is not.
right, yeah.
It's a masquerade, but maybe I'm
Mhm.
quibbling. So, they stop because their costumes for the ball have arrived. And then they go to the ball. They go to the
Mhm.
costume ball. Antonio insists that Diana stay in bed, or Brian insists that Diana stay in bed because she's sick. And she's like, okay, I will. He leaves. She immediately gets dressed and goes downstairs to find him, right? I don't know
Mhm.
why she wouldn't just be like, I'm going.
Right, exactly. Like, don't stop me. I'm going with you. It's fine.
Yeah. So she goes downstairs. She sees Brian talking to Luis and Beth, but of course she can't see Luis or Beth. She can only see their
Mhm.
backs. And so she starts to walk over to them, but then a guy walks in front of her and gives her a mask. It's like, I'm sorry, ma'am. Everyone has to wear a mask. Well, they weren't
Mhm.
wearing their masks.
Right.
Everybody has to put on a mask. So she puts on her mask. Also, all of a sudden, her voice is fucked up again. She's like, my voice, my throat, all like, why? Oh, I hate this so much. I wish they just would not have fucking done this.
Mhm.
It's to me, and I think I said this last week. To me, it's kind of sick. If I was watching this for the first time, like
Mhm.
say it was 2002 again, and I'm watching this for the
Mhm.
first time, and I was like an avid Sheridan and Luis like fan, I'm waiting for them to get back together, I would be fucking pissed. No,
Mhm.
this would have pissed me off. I probably would have
Yeah.
stopped watching the show, to be honest. Like last week, I would have stopped. What
Yeah.
happened last week probably would have made me stop, because last
Mhm.
week it was like they made it seem like these two people had reunited.
Yep.
We got like
The
whole
full
the whole reuniting,
Yep.
and it feels
Feels
so
so
good, and then it
good.
turned out to be a dream, and it was sick. It was
Yeah.
diabolical.
Yep.
Okay. This week, they actually talk to each other in the masks. So they
Mhm.
can't see each other. They don't recognize each other, right? She goes over, um, Brian introduces her to Beth and Louise. She also can't hear now. So that's the thing. Her ears are stopped up, and she's like,
Her
"Oh, I'm
ears
sorry, my ears are so
excited.
stopped up. I can barely hear anything. I can't understand what anybody's saying." Uh, I hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Everything that happened this week. Every single morsel of this storyline pissed me off. So
Mhm.
she meets Beth, shakes Beth's hand. She shakes Luis's hand. Both of them
Mhm.
simultaneously are like, "I know you," right? They're like,
Mhm.
"You are familiar. I know you," right? Brian is like, "Well, I know, Diana. I know why you think you know my brother. It's because we're so much alike. Ugh. It's because we're so much alike. People always used to mistake us for one another." And then he was like, "But Luis, I don't understand why you think you know my
My
girlfriend."
girlfriend, yeah.
And Beth then is like, "No, I know what it is. I mean, you talked about her so much. I feel like I know her too already." And Luis was like, "Yeah, I guess that could be it."
Yeah.
asks Brian if he can dance with Diana. And so then the two of them dance together. Hated this, hated it, hated it. They dance together. They do the first dance. He tries to talk to her, but of course she can't hear because her ears are so stopped up.
Yeah.
But like he's in her ear. You really can't hear?
My thing about this whole thing was the fact, like, Diana's sick. She can't hear. She can't really talk. But here, like for Luis, I'm like, this is a person that you say was the love of your life. You were planning to marry her. You can't tell from looking in her eyes that's her. You can't tell, even though she's wearing a mask. You can't tell from the shape of like her face that that's not her. From the way she feels,
That's the
that
part for me.
I'm like, I don't understand how you held her hand and instantly weren't like Sheridan. Like
I don't understand how they were dancing. He's holding her around her waist.
their waist,
And
like
doesn't feel like this
her.
feels very familiar to me.
Very familiar.
Well, of
And
course,
then the dance move, nah.
of course, the second dance they do is a tango. Of course, they do this tango together. She does like the quote special move, which is just like a dip, and he's like, "How do you know that move? How could you possibly know that move?" And then he's like, "Oh, my brother, he must have taught it to you." Oh God, gag me with a fucking spoon.
Honestly.
So they dance. At no point do they think, let's take off our masks and show each other our faces. Like, truthfully, when they grabbed hands and were like, I know you. I think I know you.
Yeah.
To me, immediately was like, who are you? Like,
Yeah.
Lift your mask and see. But they didn't do
Mhm.
that. Then the time comes in the night when it's time to take off your mask. The people announce it's time to take off your mask, reveal your faces. Nothing comes of this. It's not important.
Nothing.
Diana
Stupid.
starts coughing, so she can't take off her mask. Antonio comes in to try and help her. He sends Luis to get some water for her. He goes get the water, but while he's gone, Antonio's like, "I'm gonna take you right to the doctor right now." Takes her to the doctor. She's fine, of course.
Of course.
Then Beth comes back and is like, "Oh my God, I called the book cafe to just check in, and I couldn't get a hold of Chad, but then she got a hold of somebody because whoever it was told her all the things that are going on in Harmony, including the fact that Luis's house has burned down and that his sister is now Mrs. Julian Crane and living at the mansion." So he's like, "We got to get off this.
We gotta go.
Yeah." He's like, "We gotta go." So they immediately run to their room, start packing up. He's like, "Oh, I wish I could have I talked to my brother, like I should leave him a note." So basically he writes a note telling him, explaining what happened and what's going on and why they have to leave so abruptly. Slides it under the door. The Antonio and Diana come back. They've missed each other. It doesn't matter. They've missed each other. They're making it seem like they're gonna kind of
come back, like
catch each other.
connect, but
They're not. They
happen.
have missed each other, and it's fine. I'm very fucking over it. So that's it.
That's it.
That's all I have to say about that. So that's it for the day, everybody. You got anything to add, Uche?
No, I think we're good. This is exciting stuff, not this particular storyline, but we're starting to get into some of the really good, fun, juicy stuff. Like now that Theresa is officially Mrs. Julian Crane, a lot of hijinks is about to occur.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get really fun. So I'm pumped.
Agreed. All right. Well, where can the people find you online?
You guys can find me on Instagram at pinkhaze16 and on TikTok at happily ever Uche.
All right. And I will link that in the description. And of course, you can always find me on social media. Just search Passions Podcast and you'll find me. And with that, you are my passion for life.